This is a drawing of a friend. I won't show you his face because he doesn't want to be identified, but we talked about something profound the other day. We were walking through the woods, and he said, "There's no such thing as a pointless conversation." And it struck me because I think most people have probably had the opposite experience. They've had conversations where they thought, "Why am I even talking to this person? This is so stupid. This is pointless. What a waste of time." But my friend challenged that idea. He said every conversation, no matter how seemingly pointless, is an opportunity for learning and growing. And I thought that was a really deep thought. But then I realized there's actually a much deeper thought hiding inside of that one. So let me take you back to that walk in the woods. The reason I even started talking to this person in the first place was because I wanted to learn from him. See, he's an expert fly fisherman, and I wanted to get better at fly fishing. And so I asked him some questions. I was like, "Hey, how do you get better at this? What kind of gear do you use?" And he showed me some things, and I got better at fly fishing as a result of our conversation. But when I really think about it now, I realize that what he was really teaching me was how to be curious and how to ask good questions. And that's something that applies to every aspect of life. Socrates, the ancient Greek philosopher, once said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." And it sounds arrogant, right? It's like, "Hey, I know everything," versus "I don't know anything." But Socrates wasn't saying that we literally know nothing. What he was getting at was the realization that we don't know what we don't know. There's this huge gap in our knowledge. We can't possibly know everything there is to know about any given subject. And so we should approach every conversation with the mindset of a student. We should be asking questions and trying to learn from everyone around us. That's the only way we're gonna grow. But here's the other part of the equation. Just as Socrates suggested, we also need to be aware of the limits of our own knowledge. We can't be so stuck in our ways that we refuse to consider alternative perspectives. We need to be willing to listen and to learn from others, even if they hold beliefs that are different from our own. This is the essence of wisdom, realizing that we don't know everything and being open to learning from everyone. But here's the problem. Most of us are not naturally good at asking questions, and that's why we have what's called the Einstellung effect. You see, the Einstellung effect is a cognitive bias that causes us to fixate on past experiences and have a hard time thinking outside of the box. It comes from the German word Einstellung, which means setting or attitude. And it refers to our tendency to approach new situations based on our previous experiences, even when those past experiences are not relevant or helpful. For example, if you've always struggled with math, you might have an Einstellung that makes it difficult to believe that you could ever be good at it. Or if you've never been very good with changes to your schedule, you might have an attitude that makes it hard to be flexible when plans change. So if we want to have meaningful conversations and learn from others, we have to be aware of our own biases and limitations. We can't let our past experiences or beliefs prevent us from engaging with people who are different from us. Instead, we need to be willing to step outside of our own echo chambers and challenge our own assumptions. We need to be able to say, "I don't know" when we don't know something, and be genuinely curious when someone offers a different perspective. So the next time you find yourself in a conversation that you think is pointless, I encourage you to consider the possibility that there's more to it than you're seeing. Try to identify the underlying assumptions and biases that are shaping your perspective. Ask questions and try to understand where the other person is coming from. You might be surprised by what you learn. You might even find that the conversation is more enlightening than you expected. Hey everyone, it's me here from the channel. And today we're going to be talking about aesthetics. More specifically, when we talk about something being aesthetic, what exactly does that mean? And how do we use it in a sentence? So if you're ready to get those brain cells milked, let's get started. Okay, so before we jump into examples of using the word aesthetic, let's talk about what it means. The definition of aesthetic is concerned with beauty or the appreciation of beauty. And you can use this word in two different ways. You can either describe something as aesthetic, which means it's beautiful, pleasing, or it can refer to the philosophy of aesthetics, which is about how we know what is beautiful or not. For example, the other day my friend Jamie was organizing her bookshelf and she said, "I'm putting all of these books on the floor. They look so messy. I need to find a way to make them more aesthetic." In this situation, Jamie is using the word aesthetic as an adjective, meaning she wants her books to be more beautiful or pleasing to look at. We can also use aesthetic to describe art. For example, we can say Van Gogh's paintings have a strong aesthetic, or Japanese gardens have a minimalist aesthetic. When we talk about the aesthetic of something, we are talking about the style or the vibe of it. Now let us take a look at some more examples of how we can use the word aesthetic in a sentence. 1. Your room is so aesthetic. I love how you decorated it. This is an example of using aesthetic as an adjective. When we describe something as aesthetic, we are usually talking about how it looks. 2. She has an elegant aesthetic. This means that she has a sense of style and that she knows how to look good. 3. He prefers a more rustic aesthetic. This means that he likes things that look old and a little bit worn out. For example, he might like to wear jeans and boots instead of sneakers and a t-shirt. For the new cafe has a modern aesthetic. This means that the cafe is stylish and up to date with current trends. 5. They decided to go for a more minimalist aesthetic in their new home. This means that they prefer simple and clean-looking furniture and decorations. Okay, now that you know a few examples of how to use the word aesthetic, I want to give you some tips on how to use it correctly. First, aesthetic is an adjective, but it can also be a noun. However, when we use it as a noun, it's usually in a more academic or philosophical context. For example, we might talk about the aesthetics of a painting, which refers to the style or the beauty of the painting itself. But in everyday conversation, we usually use it as an adjective. Second, the word aesthetic is often used to describe things that are pleasing to the eye. However, it can also be used to describe things that are pleasing to other senses, such as the sound of music or the smell of fresh bread. In this case, we would say that the experience is multisensory rather than just visual. And finally, it's important to remember that the word aesthetic is subjective. What one person finds beautiful, another person may not. So be careful when using this word in front of others. You don't want to offend anyone with your opinion. Okay, that's it for this lesson. Let me know in the comments below what you thought and if you learned anything new. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.